Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. Today we're going all the way to Baltimore
Baltimore.
to check out a neighborhood that's making an amazing comeback.
Okay.
And to do that, we're going to focus on the historic East Baltimore Community Action Coalition,
Interesting.
otherwise known as HEBCAC.
Mm.
And they're doing some really interesting work with vacant homes.
I see.
So we're going to hear about some million-dollar rehabs
Wow.
that are selling for a fraction of the cost, and a community leader who actually started out as a music major
That's quite a change.
and became a community revitalization expert.
So it sounds like HEBCAC has a really unique approach to revitalization.
They do.
It's more than just, fixing up a few houses here and there.
Right.
It seems like they're really invested in understanding the community's needs.
And building from the ground up.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny
What's that?
is that HEBC, they weren't always so keen on taking on these vacant homes.
Really?
Yeah. So back in the 90s, they had this rehab project, and it almost completely sank the organization.
Oh, wow.
So for a while after that, they understandably focused on other community services.
Makes sense.
And they were really hesitant to go back to that whole housing development thing.
Yeah, I can see why they'd be cautious after an experience like that.
Right.
But it sounds like that past experience, even though it was a setback,
Yeah.
might have actually given them some really valuable insights.
Definitely.
So when they finally decided to tackle those vacant homes again,
Yeah.
it seems like they came back with a much more defined strategy.
Right. They did. And it was based on a really thorough market study.
Interesting.
So this time around, they zeroed in
Okay.
on a 5-block zone.
Right.
And they came up with a 2-pronged approach.
So what did that look like?
So first, they were looking at about 65 city-owned properties.
Okay.
And those were just beyond repair.
Oh, wow.
So they slated for demolition.
I see.
But then there were these other 45 homes
Okay.
that they thought could be salvaged. So they decided to put through this really careful rehab process.
Oh.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay. I'm listening.
They didn't just randomly pick these houses to fix up
Oh.
that market study that I was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
That played a key role in how they made these decisions.
So they used the market study to really figure out which properties were going to make the most impacts and which homes people would actually want to buy.
Right.
And then what kind of renovations would get the best results.
Exactly.
That's a really smart move.
It is.
I mean, it sets them apart from a lot of revitalization efforts that haven't been as successful.
Yeah, I mean, it really shows that they were not just throwing money at the problem.
Right.
They were really being very careful and data-driven.
Data-driven.
Yeah. And you can actually see that their plan is already taking shape.
Oh, wow. So how many homes have they sold so far?
They've sold 16 homes as of today,
16.
and they're hoping to finish everything by early 2018.
That's ambitious.
It is.
So is there any area in particular where you can really see their work?
There is.
Okay.
There's one block that's like a poster child for all of this.
Okay. Tell me more.
It's the 900 block of North Montfort Avenue.
All right.
6 homes have been sold there, and the change is unbelievable.
Wow. So what kind of changes are we talking about?
So they've repaved the streets, they've planted all these new trees,
Okay.
and they've even spruced up the existing homes that were already there
How did they spruce them up?
with fresh paint and new front lights that all match.
So they're not just focusing on individual houses. They're really improving like the whole look and feel of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
And making it more attractive for everyone.
Exactly.
Both new and existing residents.
Yeah, and that's where Edward Sabatino comes in.
Oh, yeah. The head of HEBCAC.
Right.
What's his take on all of this?
So he sees HEBCAC not just as a developer,
Oh.
but as something that can really push for improvement in every part of the neighborhood. He has this great quote.
Oh, what is it?
He says, anybody can fix up houses.
Anybody can fix up houses.
In some ways, that's the easiest part of the equation.
So for him, it's about so much more than just the physical buildings.
Right.
What does he see as that bigger picture?
Yeah, what are those elements that go beyond just the structures themselves?
I'm curious to hear more about that.
He's all about cleaning, greening, and investing in the people who are already there.
Okay, so he's not just trying to bring in new people.
No.
He wants to make sure that the people who have always lived there
Yeah.
are a part of this revitalization.
Exactly. And he recognizes that to really revitalize a place, you need to take a holistic approach.
Yeah, you have to consider all the different aspects of the community.
Exactly.
And that's a really key insight.
It is
because it's about empowering the community.
Absolutely.
And making sure that everyone benefits from this revitalization.
Yeah, and you know what's really fascinating about all of this?
What's that?
Is Sabatino's own journey.
Really?
Yeah, because, get this, he actually has degrees in music performance,
Music performance.
and he's specialized in the clarinet.
The clarinet.
I know.
That's definitely not the typical background for someone who's leading a community revitalization effort.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
So what made him switch from music to community work?
Yeah. How did he go from the clarinet to all of this?
Well, that's a big jump.
Well, at some point, he just felt really drawn to the nonprofit world.
Okay.
So he spent some time at the United Way in Atlanta.
The United Way.
Yeah, and then he ended up at HEBCAC back in 2004.
Wow.
And what's really cool is that he still plays music.
Oh, that's great.
He plays with his kids.
So he's found a way to balance both of his passions.
He has.
That's awesome.
And he says he has absolutely no regrets about switching careers.
Good for him.
Yeah. So you might be wondering how a HEBCAC manages to do all of this.
Yeah, especially selling those $1 million rehabs at such low prices.
Right.
How do they do that?
That is a really good question.
It really is kind of mind-boggling.
Right.
I mean, how can they possibly sell these homes for so little after putting all that work into them?
It seems like they'd be losing a ton of money.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a financial disaster?
You would think so. But somehow they figured out a way to make it work.
Okay, so tell me the secret.
So those $1 million rehabs I mentioned,
Yeah.
they're not actually selling for $1 million.
Oh, okay.
The typical rehab ends up costing HEBCAC about $200,000.
$200,000.
And that's about what they're selling them for, too.
So they're basically breaking even.
Pretty much.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is.
So how do they manage to keep the costs so low
Yeah.
and still deliver these really nice renovations?
Well, it's a few things, actually.
Yeah.
First, they're really smart about how they do the construction. They use a modular approach.
Modular approach.
Yeah, which helps them save money on both labor and materials.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then the other thing is, they're not really in it for a quick profit.
Okay.
Sabatino has actually said that the market in this area,
Yeah.
it's not strong enough to attract for-profit developers.
So other developers wouldn't even touch this.
Nope.
Interesting.
But that actually works to HEBCAC's advantage.
Oh, I see, because they're a nonprofit.
Exactly.
So they can take a longer-term view.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about making a huge profit right away.
Right. They're more focused on the community's needs.
It's like they've turned what could be seen as a weakness
Yeah,
into a real strength.
absolutely.
So because they're not pressured to make a profit,
Yeah,
they can keep those prices low.
right.
And that makes it possible for families to buy a home
Exactly.
who might not have been able to otherwise.
It really is an incredible model.
It is. It challenges a lot of assumptions about how real estate development works.
It does.
And it shows that a community-focused approach can be really successful.
And impactful.
Yeah.
So now you're probably wondering how they pay for all of this.
Right. I mean, rehabbing these homes,
Yeah.
even if they're doing it efficiently,
Yeah.
still takes a lot of money.
It does. But they've been really resourceful.
So how much money are we talking about?
Well, they've secured about $8 million
$8 million.
for this entire revitalization project.
Wow, that's impressive.
They're calling it Station East.
Station East.
Yeah,
I wonder if that name has any special significance.
it does.
Really?
It's not just some random name.
Right.
Remember we were talking about their strategic approach?
Yeah.
Well, part of that involves being close to a major transit hub.
Oh, so
Yeah.
is it the neighborhood near a train station or something?
It is.
Okay.
It's right next to a train station that connects to downtown Baltimore
And beyond?
and beyond.
Wow.
So they're using that in their marketing.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah. Highlighting how easy it is to get jobs and amenities.
Yeah.
So Station East isn't just a name.
Right. It's more like a brand.
Exactly.
It's a way to kind of reimagine what the neighborhood is all about
Yeah.
and make it more appealing to new residents.
It's really smart.
It is.
So, yeah, back to the funding.
$8 million.
It's a lot of money.
It is.
Where did they get all of that? Well, it's a mix of public and private funds.
Okay.
They've gotten grants from city and state agencies,
Okay.
and they've also gotten investments from foundations and private donors.
So it sounds like they've been really successful at fundraising,
They have.
which tells you something about their reputation.
Exactly.
Uh
I think their track record of success
huh.
and their clear vision for the future
Yeah.
have made them really good at attracting support.
Yeah. It shows that people trust them
It does.
and believe in what they're doing.
Right.
It's not just about having a good idea.
No.
It's about showing that you can actually use the money effectively to
Exact.
create real change.
But HEBCAC has definitely done that.
So we've seen how HEBCAC is taking this different approach to revitalization,
Yeah.
focusing on the community's needs
Right.
and making sure housing is affordable.
Yeah.
And we've seen how they're being really smart about using their resources
Yeah.
and even how they're branding the neighborhood
Right.
to have the biggest impact possible.
Absolutely.
But what does all this mean for the people who actually live there?
Right. What about the residents?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Because revitalization can be a tricky thing.
It can.
I mean, on the one hand, it can bring in much needed investment,
Right.
improve living conditions,
Yeah.
boost property values.
Huh?
But on the other hand,
It can also push out the people who have lived there for a long time.
exactly, because they can no longer afford to live in their own neighborhoods.
Right. It's what we often see with gentrification.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
It is.
Revitalization shouldn't come at the expense of the people who make a community special.
Exactly.
It's a tough balance to strike.
It is.
And it seems like HEFAC is really trying to be intentional about how they do this.
They are.
So how are they making sure that the revitalization benefits everyone?
Well, one of the key things about their approach is this emphasis on inclusivity. Yeah, they're not just building houses for new people coming in.
Oh.
They're actively trying to preserve what makes this community unique
Okay.
by investing in the people who are already there
Yeah.
and making sure that they benefit from the revitalization.
That's where their commitment to affordable housing comes in.
Right.
By keeping the homes affordable.
Yeah.
They're giving current residents a way to stay in the neighborhood.
Exactly. And to share in all the good changes that are happening.
So it's not just about building affordable housing. It's
Right.
about making sure that the existing residents can
Yeah.
actually afford to live in those homes.
Right. And remember how Sabatino was talking about cleaning and greening and investing in the people?
Yeah.
Well, those aren't just words.
They're actually putting those ideas into action.
Exactly. They've got all these programs to help people who already live there.
Like what kind of programs?
Things like home repairs, job training, even financial literacy.
Wow. So they're really investing in the community as a whole.
They are.
It's not just about fixing up the physical houses.
Right. It's about investing in the people, too.
It's really refreshing to see an organization that gets that.
It is.
That revitalization is about more than just bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
It's about creating a place where everyone can thrive
Absolutely.
and where the people who have been there all along
Yeah.
are seen as an important part of that.
Right. They're assets, not obstacles.
Exactly.
So HEBCAC is really challenging that narrative
Which one?
that gentrification is just an inevitable part of revitalization.
Yeah, that you can't have one without the other.
Right. But they're showing that it is possible to do things differently.
And create a more equitable model for development.
Exactly.
It's really inspiring,
It is.
but I imagine it's not always easy.
No, definitely not.
I mean, every community is different. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. And even with the best intentions,
Yeah.
there are always going to be challenges.
And unexpected roadblocks along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as we wrap up this deep dive into what HEBCAC is doing in Baltimore, I'm curious what you think some of those challenges might be.
That's a good question. I mean, we've talked about a lot of the things they're doing well.
Right.
But what about the potential problems or roadblocks they might hit as they keep going with this revitalization?
Exactly.
One thing that often comes up in community development is managing expectations.
Yeah,
I mean, revitalization takes time,
it does.
and it's rarely a perfectly smooth process.
Right.
There are going to be setbacks and delays and things you just don't see coming.
Of course.
So organizations like HEBCAC, they really need to be good at communicating with residents.
Yeah, keeping everyone in the loop
Exactly. Keeping them updated on the progress, but also on the challenges.
and being realistic about what to expect.
Right, because if people's expectations are too high,
Yeah,
they might get discouraged when things don't happen as quickly as they thought.
right. Or when they hit a snag.
Exactly.
It's all about building trust and keeping those lines of communication open.
Right, so that residents feel like they're a part of this whole thing.
Yeah, not just watching it happen from the outside.
Exactly. And what about the money side of things?
Yeah, we talked about how well they've done with fundraising,
Uh-huh.
but can they keep that up?
Right. Can they keep getting that level of support over time?
That's another big challenge, isn't it?
It is, because getting funding for these kinds of projects,
Yeah.
it's a constant struggle.
It is.
Grant cycles come and go.
Yeah.
And the things foundations want to give money to.
Right. Priorities change.
Exactly. So HEBCAC is going to have to be really creative
Yeah.
about finding different ways to get money.
Diversifying those funding streams.
Yeah. and building relationships with new donors,
Right.
and always being ready to change their strategies.
To adapt to the situation.
Exactly, because if one funding source dries up,
Yeah.
they need to have other options
They need to be able to pivot
and be flexible.
and be ready for anything.
Yeah, and they also need to be able to show people what they've accomplished.
Prove their impact.
Exactly. They need to show funders and stakeholders
Yeah.
that what they're doing is actually making a difference.
So data is going to be really important.
It is.
Yeah. They need to track their progress,
Uh-huh.
collect data on how their programs are doing,
Right.
and then tell their story in a way that really shows the benefits they're bringing to the community.
Yeah, because data can be really powerful
It can.
for advocating for what they're doing
Yeah.
and showing people that it's worth supporting.
It's not enough to just do good work.
Right. You have to be able to prove that it's working.
Exactly.
But beyond all the practical stuff,
Yeah.
are there any downsides to revitalization that HEBCAC needs to watch out for?
Yeah. Any unintended consequences?
Right, because even when you have the best intentions, things don't always go as planned.
Right, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
One of the biggest worries with revitalization is gentrification.
And displacement. Even if you focus on keeping housing affordable,
Yeah.
there's always a chance that property values will go up and new people will move in.
And then longtime residents get priced out.
Exactly. So it's not enough to just create affordable housing.
Right.
You have to put things in place
Yeah.
to protect the people who already live there.
And make sure they actually benefit from the changes.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
where you're bringing in new investment,
Right.
but you're also preserving what makes the community special.
And keeping it diverse.
Right. So HEBCAC needs to be really proactive about addressing these concerns.
Yeah. Working with the residents to find solutions.
Right. Coming up with strategies that prevent displacement and promote development. That's fair for everyone.
Yeah.
This might mean things like advocating for rent control policies or providing legal help to tenants who are facing eviction.
Yeah.
Or even creating community land trusts
Right.
to keep housing affordable over the long term.
Sounds complicated.
It is.
But I think HEBCAC is up to the challenge.
I think so too.
I mean, they've shown that they really understand what the community needs.
Yeah.
And they're willing to adapt to make sure those needs are met.
Exactly.
So, as we finish up here,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways from HEBCAC's work?
What should our listeners be thinking about?
Especially those who might be facing similar challenges in their own communities.
Well, I think HEBCAC's story shows us a few really important things.
Okay.
First, it highlights how important it is to take a holistic approach to revitalization.
So not just focusing on the physical buildings.
Right. It's about thinking about all the different aspects of a neighborhood.
The social, the economic, the environmental.
Exactly. Because a community is more than just bricks and mortar.
It's about the people who live there.
Yeah. And how they connect with each other and with the place itself.
Absolutely.
The second thing HEBCAC shows us is the power of community engagement.
Getting people involved.
Exactly. They've made it a priority to include residents in every step of the way.
From the very beginning.
Yeah, from planning and design all the way to actually making things happen and then seeing how it all turns out.
So people feel like they have a real voice.
Right, and that they're a part of the process.
And that gives them a sense of ownership.
Yeah, and it empowers them to be a part of the change that's happening.
And the last takeaway
Yeah.
is that commitment to affordability.
Absolutely, because that's crucial for making sure that revitalization is fair for everyone.
Right, by keeping housing costs down
Yeah.
and providing resources to help the people who are already there. They're creating a community where everyone can benefit from the good things that are happening.
It's a reminder that revitalization doesn't have to lead to pushing people out. It doesn't have to. With careful planning
Yeah.
and policies that are designed to be inclusive,
And a real commitment to making things better for everyone.
you can create a future where everyone has the chance to succeed.
So as you think about HEB6's story,
Yeah.
think about the challenges and opportunities in your own community.
What are your community's strengths?
What makes it special?
What resources do you have?
What kind of partnerships can you build?
And how can you make sure that any revitalization efforts are equitable
And sustainable.
and truly benefit everyone?
Remember, change starts at the local level.
Yeah. So get involved
Speak up for policies that support fair development.
and support the organizations that are making a difference
Because you can be a part of shaping a better future.
for your neighborhood and for the world.
So we hope this deep dive has inspired you
Yeah.
to explore your own community.
And its challenges and opportunities.
Keep asking questions.
Keep digging deeper.
And until next time.
Happy diving.